I joined the IMMR team in 2016, at a time when transcatheter mitral valve replacement was the main focus in structural heart. We suspected that the tricuspid valve would be the next big thing, and we set out building our expertise in tricuspid replacement and repair. Because comparative anatomy is so important in the work that we do, I completed my PhD thesis on the comparative anatomy of the tricuspid valve. Much like my colleague here at IMMR, Alexis Morlet, did a few years before me with the comparative anatomy of the mitral valve. Comparative anatomy and imaging are very important. The way the heart is positioned in four-legged animals is quite different compared to its position in humans. The heart is not pointing towards the diaphragm and to the left as in humans, but in sheep, pigs and dogs, the heart is pointing towards the sternum and slightly to the right. This affects the angles of the great vessels and how we image and access the heart during interventional procedures. We are here to share our knowledge with our clients and to anticipate what will be the best model for evaluating their new technology. Historically, the pig has been a valuable model for heart valve research, but it may not be the best suited on every occasion. Here at IMMR, in addition to pigs, we can also work with sheep and dogs, and the tricuspid anatomy differs between these species. For example, in their sizes and positions of the papillary muscles, or the ways the valve leaflets are divided, these can affect the performance of prosthetic valves and repair devices. Pigs can be used for acute procedures, but for chronic studies, sheep are most appropriate because they are more robust and they don't outgrow the device over time. The tricuspid valve and its low pressure environment are very different from the mitral valve and the much higher pressure left ventricle. You might be surprised to see how thin the tricuspid valve is compared to the mitral valve. And so if you want to use any anchoring system, you will face different challenges. Anchors can also pierce the thin-walled right ventricle and cause bleeding and cardiac tamponade. The position of the coronary arteries is different, and so is the shape of the ventricle. The angles to access the valve, the size of the atrium, the amount of space above and below the valve, and the relative position of the RVOT versus the LVOT are all different. So, a prosthetic valve that is optimized for the mitral space may not work in the tricuspid space, and vice versa. Regardless of species, normal anatomy has its limitations. And so, we have also pioneered the development of an animal model of tricuspid valve disease that closely resembles human right heart insufficiency and tricuspid valve regurgitation. Human patients suffering from right heart insufficiency have a very dilated right ventricle and a much rounder tricuspid annulus that devices need to accommodate. This is precisely what our model is designed to do.